am very open about my love for video game music. Pretty much all of my videos have at least 1% of them dedicated to the game in question's soundtrack. In fact, I'd say most music made specifically for video games is better than most music made to be music. And one of the best sounding franchises of all time is the Final Fantasy series. Yeah, my goal today is to get copy strike from the heavens above by Square Enix's all-seeing eye. Let's go get it, boys. Although composers like Yoko Shimomura, Masashi Hamazao, and others have contributed incredible and breathtaking pieces to the series, they were all preceded by the absolutely legendary Nobuo Uematsu. His love of multiple genres and intricate compositions resulted in a catalog of varied, emotional, and frankly genius music that defined the first 9 Final Fantasy titles. Obviously, he's still a contributor and sound supervisor of the series to this day, but you know what I mean. He's the best sole composer for any game series in my eyes. And nowhere is his ear for switching things up more evident than in the many Chocobo themes. For the clueless out there, Chocobos are a race of fluffy and silly birds that show up in most entries in the Final Fantasy series. They're kind of the series mascot, since every new numbered game has totally different characters and worlds. They're one of the few consistent elements. Since they show up a lot, their theme song also shows up a lot too. But to keep it from getting stale, it often gets rearranged into a completely different genre within each game. So today, I'm gonna listen to all of those versions and put them in a shitty tier list, where most of my rankings are more emotional and arbitrary than serious, and I'll still get 1 or 2 angry comments anyway. I don't want to waste any more time with the setup. We all know how these types of videos work, and we've got 34 years of game music history to get through, so let's jump to it. 14 main series entries, some sequels, and a remake all feature the Chocobo theme. So let's just jump into it. The Chocobos didn't make their first adorable appearance until the series' second entry, and along with it came part of their theme. There's only 4 looping measures here. I mean, imagine writing one all over the world map and having to hear the same notes over and over again without end. What an ear slog. I hate that we're not starting off on such a positive note, but this is going in F tier for sure. Now that's what I'm talking about. Not only were B and C sections added for some listening variety, the harmonies are bouncier and even give us some setup and a break from the melody. It is still a little bit short, but it's way better than 2's. Is it the best the motif can be? Not really, we're still in vanilla mode at this point, so it's going in C tier. Final Fantasy IV has 2 versions of the Chocobo theme. The first one is still very vanilla, but since we are now on the Super Nintendo with way better sound hardware, it sounds a lot more distinct and memorable. As far as basic Chocobo themes go, this is the definitive version if you ask me. I'm still going to put it in C tier, but it's going above 3's theme. The second one is called Samba de Chocobo. I really like the energy this one has. It reminds me of Mario Kart with its upbeat tempo, and I'm just a big fan of that Latin sound. B tier. Final Fantasy V's Mambo de Chocobo has a similar Latin sound, but it slows things down. It has a day at the beach kind of vibe. The steel drum is impeccably timed, and I like how they swapped the trumpets to be one of the harmonies this time around. Also, the guy that screams at different places in the song cracks me the frick up. Okay, I can't handle this. Let's go again, A tier. Final Fantasy VI decided that the Chocobos weren't cute little creatures anymore. They get to be freaking cool. And as such, they appear with Techno de Chocobo backing them up. Everything about this one slaps for me. The synthy voice that says Chocobo, the slamming drum beats, the sliding sound, and the hard guitar bass line make me want to dance, dance, dance so bad. Exactly as a techno song should. Easily the best one so far, S tier. By the way, the channel Orchestral Fantasy, who makes really good covers of a lot of Super Nintendo RPG music, has an especially unique and catchy cover of this song. You should check him out so you don't miss it when he finally does Dancing Mad. I can't wait for that. Final Fantasy VII involved the Chocobos more than any of the other entries. One of its main side quests involves breeding and racing Chocobos. So because of this, Final Fantasy VII has 4 different Chocobo themes. Oh geez. The first one is Waltz de Chocobo. It plays one time in the entire game when you interact with the Chocobos at the farm. It's very cute, and I like what they do with the main melody, but it is a little bit on the shorter side, and like I said, it only plays once. So it's really those last 2 factors that keep this one from being memorable at all. So I'm gonna put it in D tier. The next one is way longer and way more memorable. Electric de Chocobo is a surf rock song that plays when a Chocobo shows up in battle. It's energetic as flip with that organ lead, the drums and guitar keep up the tempo, and the chirps sprinkled throughout the song are adorable reminders of just whose theme song this is. There's also a section I really like that has that very typical surf rock type of tune that really shows off Uematsu's understanding of how to be a good pastiche artist. This one is going in S tier for me. Cinco de Chocobo plays when you ride a Chocobo around the overworld. I like that it uses Final Fantasy VII's distinctive bell sound. But to be honest, this one just bores the crap out of me. I never listen to this one on my own time. C tier. Fiddle de Chocobo plays during the Chocobo races at the Gold Saucer. I really like this one. The leading synth kinda grates on the ears, but this is a really fun square dance number that gets me in the mood for racing. Making this feel like a derby through the music was an inspired move. A tier. FF8 has 2 themes. Odeka de Chocobo is a simple chiptune version of the motif, and I don't care about it because it's really boring, D tier. The main one though is Mods de Chocobo. It's got a strong, heavy rhythm, and that guitar and that organ, and those vocals make me want to swing my hips. This one slaps me right on the cheeks. The appropriate ones. I would never let, S tier. With its return to more traditional fantasy, Final Fantasy IX's Chocobo themes are far cutesier, harkening back to the Chocobo's adorable little mascot origins. Aloha de Chocobo is a very slow and sweet guitar song. It takes its time going where it needs to go, so it's a nice song to chill out to. Let's put it in B tier. Ukulele de Chocobo is also very adorable thanks to using more bird noises and a xylophone lead. Since it's used for a minigame, it obviously has more energy, but it's still relatively relaxing compared to some of the themes that we heard earlier. I also genuinely appreciate that the ukulele part doesn't just play chords like every white girl making an Over the Rainbow cover for 2008 YouTube. This one can go to A tier. Brass de Chocobo is a big band number that is really, really great. I'm a huge fan of big band brass ensembles with some crazy heavy drums going on in the back. This is overall just one big love letter to that whole genre. In fact, the drum rhythms at the beginning are a staple of it. It's really great, but, and this is a huge nitpick, something about it feels 1% too slow for representing a creature known for making you go faster. Great, but not super awesome. A tier. Break time. Well, we've covered 8 games so far, and this is where we have to start diving a little deeper because things get a little bit more complicated. First of all, after Final Fantasy X, Nobuo Uematsu stepped down from being a main composer of the Final Fantasy series altogether. Not only that, but this is the point where a main series entry for Final Fantasy could be a true sequel to a previous entry, or even an MMORPG. What? So that means that not only are other new composers going to try and replicate the magic of Uematsu's Chocobo themes, although he actually returned to do a majority of them, it also means that there's a lot more than just Final Fantasy 11 through 15. Let's look at the list here. We have 10-2, 11, 12, 13, 13-2, Lightning Returns, Final Fantasy 13, 14, and then 15. Oh, and also Final Fantasy 7 Remake happened, which has its own Chocobo themes, even though it's just the Midgar section, which didn't have the Chocobo themes in it in the original game. Yeah, but whatever. I didn't come this far just to be a quitter, so let's just dive in and get through all of this. To fit along with the rest of this game's new musical direction, Final Fantasy X-2 has a very hip-hop inspired theme. Unlike the previous games where something weird like this could have worked, in this game it does not work. It barely uses the core motif at all, and when it does, it sounds all mangled and discordant. It's so bad. Listen to that. I'm so sorry. I know your ears are bleeding right now, but it's so bad, right? I think we can all agree that deserves to go in F tier. The first of 11's themes, titled Ride Chocobo Ride! Feels like a big throwback to other Chocobo themes. It's got the steel drums that remind me of Mambo de Chocobo, and the banjo that reminds me of Fiddle de Chocobo. It's surprisingly chill given the energy the title implies. It's not a masterpiece or anything, although it's obviously way better than 10-2's, so I'll show it some love, B tier. The second theme, Circuit de Chocobo, has a very vibey, almost reggae-esque vibe to it. Those who know me know I really love reggae, and this one further managed to impress me with its use of subtle crushed synths overlaying parts of the melody. Really liked this one. I could totally nap to it on a lazy day. A tier. Okay, for some reason this is where simply listening to official soundtracks and finding the Chocobo songs is not enough. Apparently one of the versions on the soundtrack doesn't even play in the game. If you're wanting to listen to these on your own, just so we're on the same page here, Chocobo Final Fantasy 12 version is the version that actually plays in the game, not Chocobo Final Fantasy 12 Arrange version 1, okay? I promise those are different songs. Anyways, despite the generic orchestrated vibe this track ended up with, I kinda like it. The plucky harp and nice flute remind me of Zelda. It sounds like something that would play in Skyward Sword. And the little parts with the more traditional Eastern flair echo the fact that Final Fantasy XII's world is covered in sand. Pretty great for being the most musically homogeneous Chocobo theme. I'll put it in low B tier. Remember when nobody liked Final Fantasy 13, so then Square Enix made a whole trilogy? Remember that, Daniel?
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. Masashi Hamazao took the reign on these. Chocobos of Pulse is such a dumb title, even though it's a classic direct English translation of the classic De Chocobo titles we've seen so far. Regardless, I really like the fast-paced lounge music sound this song has. It reminds me of a 70s cop show. Like the best Chocobo themes, it makes me want to get up and freaking dance. A tier. The other Chocobo theme featured in Final Fantasy XIII is called Chocobos of Cocoon Chasing Dreams. It's a weirdly pretentious name for a funny chicken theme song, but I'm not ranking Chocobo song names. This song goes for the hip-hoppy dance style we've heard a couple times before. It feels like it's stylistically somewhere between 6 and 10-2's themes, which means it avoids the low lows of 10-2's, but it also doesn't come close to how swag 6's theme was, especially when the auto-tuned voice kicks in. This game definitely came out in 2010. D tier. While we're low-key on the topic of stupid titles, Final Fantasy XIII 2. I think that sounds even dumber than 10-2, and that's definitely more of a phonetic thing, but whatever. Uematsu wrote the 3 themes that debuted in this one. Groovy Chocobo is the main one. It's really weird. The main melody sounds trippy, but the drum beat stays high-paced for the whole song, giving it a good sense of rhythm. I really like trippy music, so I appreciated this one a whole bunch. It also shows that even when Uematsu can't churn out a whole soundtrack on his own, focusing on a few tracks means he can still pump out masterpieces. This one's going in low S tier, but only because the other ones are more iconic, to be honest. Chocobo Rodeo is up next, and it plays during 13-2's Chocobo races. It's another silly one that takes influence from South American music. It really reminds me of Brazil. It still has some trippy elements that make it really fun to listen to. It puts a smile on me. B tier. But there's one left that kind of takes the cake stylistically. I'll let it speak for itself for a second. I'm not usually in the mood for death metal, but this song knows how stupid its very existence is. It has tons of self-aware lyrics like "Feel the force of the Chocobo" and "Are we in hell? I don't know." That's pretty good. Plus the guitar and vocal textures are on point for this type of music. S tier. What the fuck are these titles? Bluesy Chocobo is straight up a jazzy lounge song. Unfortunately, even though it's really nice, I have nothing to say about it. And I promise I'm not getting lazy here. I just literally have no thoughts on this song. Very forgettable. D tier. Chocobo Returns, get it, has kind of a similar problem, but the faster pace makes it feel more memorable, albeit not by much. Gotta say though, that flute solo at the end is sick. C tier. Marimba de Chocobo is literally just a freaking Mario song. Like, gosh. But I do love me some marimba. Okay, I'll just put this in A tier because I like Mario. Too bad he's dead now. You know, like the meme from Twitter, because all the Mario 35th anniversary games got delisted from the eShop. Do you get it? Finally, I can talk about not Final Fantasy XIII. Final Fantasy XIV has a bunch of different logos, and it also has 5 different Chocobo themes. I know it's an MMO with tons to do, but that's still the most Chocobo themes in a single mainline Final Fantasy title that we've seen yet. So what do we have? The first one is this climactic Western-inspired theme. I do not like country music, but Western music is basically a totally different genre. Love me some cowboys. I could not tell you why though. What is this song called anyway? Okay, that's really freaking cute. S tier just for that. Next up is Eorzea de Chocobo, which is just another orchestrated Chocobo theme, but the beginning weirdly sounds like an Indiana Jones theme. Kind of cool, I guess, but the rest of this is just boring orchestra stuff. C tier. Sport of Kings is the race theme, and it's a really great remix of Fiddle de Chocobo. The live instrumentation really brings this one to life with even more energy than the original. So I'm gonna put it in A tier. Gateway to Paradise, the next one, is a remix as well. This one brings back Electric de Chocobo. However, I'm not the biggest fan of the organ in this one. It doesn't hit as hard to me. The guitar is really awesome though. Kudos to whoever performed it. This one's going in A tier too. Or the Egg is the Final Fantasy IV Chocobo theme, and I couldn't find it anywhere, so I'm not gonna rank it. That wouldn't be fair. So I guess Final Fantasy XIV is just kind of done. Yoko Shimomura of Kingdom Hearts and Mario and Luigi fame wrote both of the themes for this game, and man does she get what good Chocobo themes are all about. Blues de Chocobo, not to be confused with Bluesy Chocobo, plays at the Chocobo Ranch place. This one is a more traditional, old school blues song though, lots of acoustic guitar and harmonica, and I love it. It hits me right in the soul and never stops making me want to vibe with it. S tier for sure on this one. While you're running around with your Chocobos, you get to hear Rodeo de Chocobo, not to be confused with Chocobo Rodeo. It's technically split into two parts. When you're just trotting, it's a lot more simple, but when you start dashing, it picks up the pace and adds a lot more energetic and layered instrumentation. That's so dope! I'm surprised none of the other Chocobo themes to date have been dynamic tracks. It fits so well, and so obviously this is going in S tier as well. Alright, here we are, our final game of the night, or day. It's got three themes. The first is called Wild de Chocobo. It's a pretty good metal version of our motif, but it doesn't do a whole lot to stand out, especially when there have been plenty of rockin' and metalish renditions of the theme for Funny Chickens. C tier. There's yet another remix of Electric de Chocobo, which has kind of worn out its welcome to me. I don't care if it was inevitably going to be in a remake of 7. Obviously, I know it was inevitably going to be in a remake of 7. Look, it's not easy listening to so many versions of the same song in a row, and all the different genres made it easy-ish, but hearing this version again, even with better instruments, just started to get on my bad side. Electric de Chocobo still bops like 50% though, so I'll put it in C tier, I won't be that mean. Our last one is Hip Hop de Chocobo, which is a pastiche of popular hip hop musical trends from the last decade or so. I have not been a fan of those trends, to be perfectly honest, but this song isn't horrible to listen to. The flute lead makes it fun to get smug to, and I don't find the Inception trumpets intolerable or anything. It's pretty catchy, all things considered. I will put it in B tier. We're done, y'all. Play that fanfare music. That's what I'm talking about. The thing that surprised me the most while working on this was the fact that most versions of this song aren't that bad. I mean, at worst, they're totally discordant or annoying. but most of them range from just nice to listen to hip-swaying, head-bopping masterpieces. For a leitmotif that's, like I said, 34 years old, that's a pretty great track record. Like, some serious props. I hope you guys enjoyed this sillier tier list video. I'm not planning on making anything like it for a while, but whatever's next should be pretty fun. So join me then if you want. I hope I'll see you seeing me.